Today we're going to revisit one of the saddest, most uncomfortable, and morally heavy encounters in all of Red Dead 2, the story of the Catfish Jackson family. At first glance, they just seem like a broke fishing family living out in the middle of nowhere by a river. But beneath that simple appearance, there's a chain of abuse, lies, cruel choices, and consequences that stretch across years in the game. For example, what happens if you kill the father? What if you kill the son? What if you don't kill anyone? Is it even possible to kidnap one of them? And most importantly, what happens when we come back home 7 years later during the epilogue with John? In this video, I'm going to show you all the possibilities, every alternate path, and secret dialogues this encounter can trigger, including a super obscure detail involving a letter that almost nobody discovers, and that completely changes how we see Nate's fate. We're also going to tie this event directly to the mission Money Lending and Other Sins Part 5, showing how the game reacts depending on your choices in free roam, with alternate dialogues and secret endings that a lot of players miss. So without further ado, let's get into the video. When we arrive at the Catfish Jackson's farm, we find a large property located south of roads along the banks of the Lanahatchee River. Outside, you can see some work tools scattered around the ground, a barn in the back, and finally, the big house where the family lives. Even though it looks like one of those quiet spots meant for a peaceful, comfortable life, the folks there live a very different reality. You can tell that once you get close to the front door and hear a heated argument going on inside.
I reckon you had enough, Pa.
Enough? All I had enough of is you.
We ain't had food in the keep for weeks.
Oh, well, you ain't a babe in the crib no more. You full grown now, boy. Stop pulling in your pieces.
You'd only gamble or piss it away if I did.
You damn maggot. Who the hell you think you talking to? You need to learn some respect.
This is why Ma left. Look what happened to you.
These two men are Algie and Nate Davidson, father and son. They're arguing because Nate shows concern for his dad, who, as it's clear, is a hardened alcoholic and on top of that, an extremely violent man. So much so that when confronted, Algie ends up slapping his own son. This is where our first interaction with the family begins. Right now, we're faced with a bunch of different choices and possibilities. At the end of the scene, Nate notices Arthur outside and Algie immediately freaks out, yelling for him to leave. At this early moment, the dad shows some patience, waiting for the player to just walk away. But if that doesn't happen, Algie pulls a gun and turns aggressive. With the dad restrained, the next step is to visit the son in his room.
No! Please don't kill me! Take whatever you want, just leave!
Tell me where you keep the money or I swear I'll kill you right there.
The chimney! It's in the chimney, just please don't hurt me.
After the conversation, Nate reveals where the family's money is hidden. With that, we can grab $50 and also get a double-barreled shotgun stored above the fireplace. Besides the weapon and the money, the fireplace holds something even more interesting on top. A photo of an African-American woman. From the start of the dialogue, when Nate says it was because his mom left, it's clear this woman is Algie's wife. And tired of her husband's constant abuse, she ran away, leaving her son behind. Something that's both sad and deeply upsetting. We can find out more about this story by visiting the father's room. There we find a letter addressed to Nate, simply written by his mother. In this letter, Nate's mom explains that she wrote countless times, even without ever getting a reply, because just writing was her way of feeling connected to her son. She acknowledges that Nate must feel hurt and angry for being left behind, but makes it clear she never abandoned him out of lack of love. The letter reveals that she couldn't stand living with Algie anymore, mainly because of his violent temper when he drank, something that, according to her, happened all the time. Now she says she got a job, is living alone in a small house, and claims that if Nate wants, she's ready to pick him up and start over with him. What makes this story even sadder is the fact that the mother sent several letters to her son, but none of them ever reached his hands. This makes Nate believe he was abandoned, not knowing that in reality his mother tried countless times to find him again, something that without a doubt must haunt the boy every single day. Later in this video, in the secret possibilities section, I'll show a detail that few players know about this letter. A secret that can completely change Nate's fate and allow him to reunite with his mother. But before that, we need to talk about the second stage of this reunion. It happens a few days later in the game when we can return to the property and continue our interaction with the family who now already know us. As we approach the house's porch, we're greeted by a curious scene. We find the family patriarch taking a nap, peacefully sitting in his chair. And with the dad busy, we can get into the house without any resistance. This time the living room is completely empty since the son isn't there. That's because Nate is in his room practicing what seems to be his biggest passion. And no, I'm not talking about self-love, but reading. We can go into the room to start our second interaction with the family.
Oh, God. Not you again. Paul, get in here, quick!
Keep your mouth shut, kid, or this is about to get a whole lot worse.
What? What are you doing here?
Stay away from him.
Let's all calm down here.
Calm down. Get the hell out of my house.
Sorry, mister.
I said get the hell out of here. I won't tell you again. What the heck? What the hell is your problem?
Paul, are you there? Paul, are you all right? No, please don't kill me. Take whatever you want, just leave.
Tell me where you keep the money or I swear I'll kill you right there.
Please, not this again. Whatever's left, it'll be in Paul's room. Just please take it and go. No, please don't hurt him.
With Algie back in action and Nate revealing the second money location, we get access to the main bedroom of the house. There, you can grab about $25 stashed in the safe, plus some other items scattered around. The interesting thing about this is that after looting the house, I went back to the bedroom intending to confront Nate one more time. But to my surprise, he was gone. In other words, the kid just ran off, leaving his neglectful dad tied up behind his back. So now I ask you, who's gonna judge this kid? I'd do exactly the same. After a few more days, we can return to the property again, and this time we don't find the dad on the porch. For the first time in a long while, everything feels calm. The place is quiet, almost peaceful, and riding that vibe, we can break into the house once again. This time Algie is sitting on the living room couch, and the most curious thing is that for the first time in this whole event, he actually seems sober, which honestly is a huge improvement, especially after the house got broken into twice. While the father is lost in thought on the couch, Nate is in his room reading his book like he usually does. Unlike the other interactions, in this third stage Algie opens fire as soon as he spots Arthur. This makes this part tougher and way less predictable to handle. The moment he starts shooting, I already pulled out the lasso and ran to take him down. But as you can tell, the animation glitched because Algie ended up stuck in a tiny space between the couch and the wall. But with the father once again immobilized, we can head to the son's room for another interaction.
No, please don't kill me. Take whatever you want, just leave.
Tell me where you keep the money or I swear I'll kill you right there.
You already took it all. There's nothing left. Please just leave. Oh, God.
As we can see, the family's reserve is finally dry, with Arthur having stolen every last cent from the Jacksons. Jesus Christ, I gotta say I felt worse during this event than in the actual Loan Shark missions, screw that. And as if the family wasn't miserable enough already, we can wait a few more days in the game and come back to the ranch for our fourth and final meeting with the Jacksons. This time, oddly enough, we don't find Algie on the property. I searched the yard, the porch, the couch, even the main bedroom, but for some reason the patriarch isn't around. The only person present is Nate, who's reading in his room like he usually does. With that, we can enter the room for one more interaction with the boy.
Oh, I'm ready for you this time, you son of a bitch! Hey, what are you doing?
As we can see, this time the lamb turned into a wolf and Nate decided to take action. He sets up an ambush with the clear intention of killing the intruder, but since Arthur is protected by the power of the narrative, Nate's attempt ends up being thwarted. With that, the four main encounters with the Catfish and Jackson families come to an end. Now we're moving on to the part of the video everyone's been waiting for, all the possibilities. What changes if we kill the father or the son? What happens if we kidnap one of them? Besides that, we'll also dive into the mission Agiotajami Outros Pecados Part 5, where we need to collect a debt from Strauss directly from this family. What happens if we rob the Jacksons before the Agiotajam mission? And most importantly, what happens when we return to the property years later during the epilogue with John Marston? Did anything change after Arthur Morgan's time at this place back in 1899? That's exactly what we're about to find out. So if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel while also hyping up the content. There's a new Red Dead video every week here on the channel for you to check out, alright? So show some love and support the work. During the demonstration of the previous stages, I spared both the father and the son on every visit, but the coolest part is that we can act completely differently and still progress through this event, getting different results, sometimes pretty surprising. To start, I just went ahead and put a bullet in the dad right on the first visit. Doing that, Nate ends up totally crushed by his own father's death. Other than that, the rest of the interaction pretty much plays out the same way. When Nate reveals the location of the money in the chimney, we grab the $50 and leave the property. The real change only happens when we come back to the place a few days later. The first noticeable difference is a tombstone in the backyard, where Nate lovingly buried his own father. And well, if you didn't feel bad just now, you probably don't have a heart. When we enter the house, everything is calm. Nate appears again in his room reading, and as we get closer, he has exactly the same approach as the fourth visit in the pacifist version, pulling a knife and trying to kill Arthur. In other words, killing the father basically makes the fourth event happen earlier, turning it into the second. Now we're going to test the opposite, killing the son. I entered the house, immobilized the father, and followed the event normally, killing Nate only after he revealed the money stash. With the son dead and the money in hand, I left and returned to the property a few days later. The first thing I did was search the area for a tombstone. After all, if Nate was able to bury his own father, it would make sense to think that Algie would do the same for his son. But to my surprise, I didn't find any tombstone at all, and the answer came seconds later when I entered the house and heard a secret, alternate dialogue.
I couldn't keep your mama, and I couldn't protect you. She doesn't know. She can't know. I should be the one dead, not you.
As we can see, the dad fully gives into the bottle after the tragedy, regretting not being able to keep his ex-wife by his side and most of all, not being able to protect his own son.
You're a good man, Arthur Morgan.
After hearing this dialogue, we can reveal our presence to Algie, and as expected, he pulls out his revolver and immediately tries to kill us. After killing the father and the son separately, I had the idea to test something I didn't explore in my original video, killing them both. I thought it might be possible to find a double tombstone on the property. Maybe the mother would find out what happened and come back to mourn the family. With that in mind, I went to the house and killed them both. One of the most twisted acts Arthur can commit in the game.
You're a good man, Arthur Morgan.
I waited a few days and went back to the property, but to my surprise, nothing happened. The only trace left were blood pools scattered around the place with no tombstone on the property. In other words, the sheriff took the bodies but didn't notify the mother, or he did and she just chose not to return. That interpretation is up to you. Another interesting possibility I decided to test was kidnapping one of the two. I was curious to see if that would change the encounters in any way since this mechanic works in other parts of the game, like with the Aberdeen family when we take Tammy to her parents' grave. So I went onto the property, tied up the father, finished looting the fireplace, and then tied up the son. But that's when things started to fall apart. I realized there's no option to carry them. In other words, you can't actually kidnap either of them. For some reason, Rockstar chose to leave this mechanic out of this encounter, probably because this family has already been through enough. Going back to the family lore, remember when I mentioned Nate's mom's letter at the start of the video? Well, that letter hides a secret possibility that very few people know about. In fact, I didn't even catch this possibility on my first playthrough. This option is about reading the letter and revealing it to Nate. What makes this event so unknown is that it has two very specific requirements. The first is obviously reading the letter. The second is incapacitating the father, either by shooting him or knocking him out. And this is super important because if Audie is just tied up, the dialogue option simply won't show up. Once both requirements are met, just follow the interaction normally and get the money's location. After looting the fireplace, just head back to the room and start hassling the kid.
I wouldn't grieve too hard. Seems your dad was hiding letters your mom sent you.
Letters from my mom. She wrote me. No. Why would he do that? Oh, God.
As we can see, Nate is completely shocked by the revelation, since he always believed his mother had abandoned him. Finding out she tried to find him puts him in a mixed state of joy and confusion, especially when questioning why his father would hide this from him, and maybe that's exactly why his father needs to be incapacitated during this conversation. With Algie unconscious, Nate has no way to confront him, otherwise it would create an obvious plot hole since Rockstar clearly didn't plan for this scene with Algie awake. After revealing the truth to Nate, I left the property and only came back a few days later hoping to find the house empty. I really thought Nate would have gone after his mom, but to my surprise, the kid was still there reading his book like nothing had changed. In other words, maybe he was so deep into his dad's lies that he chose not to believe Arthur's words, which actually makes some sense considering Arthur never left the letter in the room. As for the dad, in this scenario he no longer appears at the house. The game always assumes he's dead even when we just knocked him out, and honestly, that's a pretty big game design flaw, Rockstar Games. Now tell me, did you manage to unlock these dialogues during your visit to the Jacksons? Let me know in the comments, and if you found out about this possibility only here on the channel, show some love by leaving your like on this video hyping the content, alright? Now moving on to Chapter 4, the Catfish Jackson family becomes the only debtor in the mission Adjutagem e Outros Pecados. Part 5. What's really interesting here is that this side mission ties directly into the free roam event, creating different dialogues and outcomes depending on whether the player visited the farm before accepting the debt collection. If we don't visit the family before the mission, the conversation with Algie happens normally by the lake since he doesn't know Arthur yet. But if we've already robbed the house earlier, the whole situation changes. Algie recognizes Arthur right away and the dialogue clearly shifts. Check out the differences.
Hey! You better have a damn good reason for being on my property, mister.
You remember that loan you took, Mr. Davison? Well, time's long since up. I'm here to collect.
I should have known. You goddamn bludgeon men are all the same. Sure, I got your money. Every stinking cent. It's in the house. Hell, I'll even offer you a drink. We can toast to never laying eyes on each other again. I got a powerful thirst on me right now. How about you? Well, you gotta be stinking drunk already to do this kind of work.
I like doing it sober.
If you take my money, surely you take a drink off me as well. That would be the mannerly thing to do.
Let's handle the money first. Worry about manners later, okay?
I could be fishing.
You were catching flies, you weren't catching fish. Now come on, let's get us that debt.
Hey, you got some damn nerve coming back on my property? Get the hell out of here.
You remember that loan you took, Mr. Davison? Well, time's long since up. I'm here to collect.
First you rob me, then you want to get paid. And they ask why I turned to the bottle. Sure, I got your money, every stinking cent. It's in the house. Hell, I'll even offer you a drink. We can toast to never laying eyes on each other again. You lucky I'm humoring you at all. Yeah, I remember.
I don't know what you're talking about. Now, let's get that debt settled.
Hold on. You're getting it. Shouldn't have borrowed no money from that shifty-looking bastard.
That's something we can both agree on. But we can also agree you did.
Another quirky detail happens when we're inside the house. Right there in the kitchen, an important choice pops up. We can either take the drink Nate offers or grab the box Algie pulls out from under the sink. I'll show both versions so you can catch the differences.
Drinks ready. It's right there, miss.
It's our life savings. Come and take what you owe. Shouldn't have turned your back on me, you parasite.
Gotta hit harder than that. Still Think you're tough?
Drinks ready. It's right there, mister.
It's our life savings. Come and take what you owe. Ah! I'll cut your damn head clean off.
You want more?
While I was testing all these possibilities, an unavoidable question came up. What happens if we kill the father even before the debt collection mission? Does that cancel the mission? Well, I did it to find out. And to my surprise, the cutscene with Strauss played normally and the game still sent me to the family farm. When I got there, I found a completely empty house. There was no one around, not even Nate, who had been spared earlier. So the game forces us to search the house for some money that could pay off the debt. And after finding the required amount, the mission is completed just by taking the money to the camp's safe. Now that we've covered the mission Agiotagium y Outros Pecados, it's time to talk about what everyone's been waiting for, the real fate of the Catfish Jackson family. What happens if we revisit the ranch 7 years later during the epilogue with John? That's exactly what we're about to find out. To run this test, I visited the ranch still with Arthur and completed some of those encounters, making sure everyone stayed alive. After that, I finished the Chapter 6 missions and reached Epilogue 1. As soon as I entered free roam, the first thing I did was head straight to the homestead. When I got there, I saw smoke coming out of the chimney, which immediately got me hyped. But that hype didn't last long. When I went inside the house, I found Nate sitting on the bed reading his book and attacking us right away, saying he'd been waiting for us, just like what happens with Arthur in 1899. At first, I was pretty confused, so I decided to test this event in other epilogue saves. For that, I fired up my Xbox and revisited an old save from 2019, and to my surprise, everything went down just right. When I got back to the ranch and stepped inside the house, I witnessed the real final showdown with Nate, the son who now faces a cruel twist of fate.
I lost everything. I hate you for it, but you didn't deserve to die.
When, as we can hear, Nate is now an alcoholic just like his dad. He's sitting on the couch mourning his death, and if he sees John, Nate instantly gets upset and tells us to leave.
Get the hell out of my house.
It's all right. Calm down.
Don't tell me to calm down, you son of a bitch. Get off my damn property.
Hey, now, take it easy. Clearly, I got the wrong house. I'll be on my way.
You better be. Barging into a fella's home like that. You lucky I ain't shot you.
If we don't do this, he pulls out his gun and gets aggressive. At that moment, I grabbed the lasso and tied him up. I looted the whole house and left, coming back only a few days later. When I arrived again at the property in yet another cruel twist of fate, I found Nate passed out drunk on the porch, exactly the same way we found his father back in 1899. In this situation, you can enter the house and steal some items without him noticing, leaving without any confrontation. But if we interact with Nate, he immediately becomes hostile. That's when I grabbed the lasso again and restrained him, hoping it would trigger a third encounter. But to my disappointment, when I returned a few days later, I found the house completely empty. With that, the encounters with the Catfish Jackson family officially come to an end. And as we saw, the encounter with this family is just as intense, complete, and full of alternate endings as the Aberdeen one. If you haven't watched it yet, I've already posted a big, super thorough video about the incestuous family, exploring all the possibilities and showing every dialogue variation. And if you enjoyed this video, I'm absolutely sure you'll like that one even more. Just click the yellow arrow to uncover the important choices, secret dialogues, and unexpected consequences. Discover all the hidden details in that full video. Big thanks for watching, much appreciated, and see you next time. Bye.